Hello Janta, Student Alumni Interaction Linkage, also known as SAIL, is a voluntary cell of IIT Guwahati, operated by the students of IIT Guwahati under the guidance of Dean of Alumni Affairs and External Relations. SAIL also acts as an engaging and a mutually beneficiary link between IIT Guwahati and alumni community. The organization functions with a vision to develop a dynamic student alumni community committed for establishing connections and strengthening ties between students and alumni, facilitating the IIT Guwahati's missions of providing top quality education opportunities and investing its future. On behalf of alumni and external relations and also SAIL team, we would like to introduce Mr. Sai Dinesh Dachiraju. Mr. Sai Dinesh Dachiraju was a 2017 Electronics and Electrical Department pass out. He is currently working as an analyst at Share Shares Holdings India. Mr. Dinesh Dachiraju, how do you feel to get connected to the campus Janta once again?
Hello, hi. It feels really good. Feels good that I'm addressing IIT Guwahati, giving back to the community that made me who I am today. And that's it. Yeah, it's good. Uh, I guess we can just start this.
Yeah, serving as the General Secretary has of CCD for placement session 2016-17 must have allowed you to closely understand the process of campus placements and also the procedure of placing the students. So, would you like to uh, clear all the doubts of the students?
Sure, sure. So let me start with my introduction so that everyone gets to know. As you've already introduced me, I'm Sai Dinesh, a triple E graduate, triple E department graduate of 17 batch. I was a resident of Kaming Hostel and working as an analyst in the business process management unit of Sears Holdings. So Sears is a retail company in the US. Apart from that, I've served as a general secretary for the Center for Career Development, or the placement cell of IIT Guwahati in my last year. And apart from that, I've also worked in the marketing and lecture series team of Techniche. Uh, that is my brief journey in IIT Guwahati.
Let's start off with the questions.
Sure.
How would you differentiate your professional career with your campus life?
Very different, cannot be compared. They're worlds apart. You basically work with different age groups when you're working in a corporate setting. There might be people who have been married. There might be people whose kids are of your age, and their topics of discussion might be very different from your topics of discussion, as well as their thought process is again different from your thought process. What happens in college is you're working with people who are, say, 2 or 3 years older or younger than you. So it's basically the same age group. uh, that is one big difference that you have to cope up with when you start working. Apart from that, I'd like to share my experience. On the first day when I joined work, I was like, me along with another 6 people who have joined here in Sears Hyderabad, had been cautioned, saying, you're just out of college, you're all excited to work, we understand that, but be careful, be cautious wherever you are in the office, because you never know who you're talking to and what you're saying, and it can be used against you some other day in some other situation. So just be careful what you talk about. Do not be immature enough to put out your opinions as they are. You need to learn to be diplomatic. So there's a lot to take from this small caution that she made to us. Apart from that, you should notice that in college you were basically paying to study. You pay the fee and then you study. Here you are paid to do the work for them, and they need it delivered on at any cost. So very different again.
Oh,
And expectations from IITians are sky high, as in that there are still a lot of people who believe in the tag of IIT and the kind of environment that we grow up in during those 4 years, the kind of environment we live in, so they have a lot of expectations from you. uh, they expect you to do the work quick as well as in an efficient manner. uh, then in an IIT, again, if you compare that to college life, all of us are IITians and we hardly felt this special. When someone is giving that special preference to you, it feels good in the beginning, but then you need to make sure that you live up to those expectations. And apart from that, there'll be little things like shift timing, say punctuality, dressing, or the way you greet or talk to people. As soon as you come to the office, you need to greet people. So these kind of things might seem very small, but make a huge difference as you go along in this path of corporate career. And you can bunk classes in your college life. You can maybe try for a proxy, but that doesn't work here. So taking a leave is a big thing. You're basically not giving your services for 8 to 9 hours in that day, and it's a huge loss for the company. So you're being paid on every day. So it's another difference that you need to note. So these are the kind of differences I would like you to see and understand, that college life and work life is going to be really different. But again, if you're working in a startup or in a more dynamic environment, then things might be different. You might be with young people, you might have the same culture going on. It depends. But in a corporate setting, in a established firm, I should focus on that. In an established firm, there are certain rules that you need to follow.
So that might have been a very difficult job for you to mold to the.
Not really, because uh, while working with placements, I've interacted with a lot of companies, with a lot of HRs, and I've understood how you need to maintain a conversation with them. So, what to talk and what not to talk. It was a good learning experience working with the CCD, and that is really helping me in this phase of transition.
Oh, wow, that's great. Can you describe your job profile and can you provide some guidelines to the people who are aiming in your job profile?
Sure. Okay. So my job profile, as it is called, is an analyst. So people have, you guys, like, even I was confused when I was in my fourth year. There is a difference between analysts, business analysts, operations analysts, data analysts. They're all really different. As in, they can have similar work in certain companies, but when someone is specifying that it is a data analyst role, then you should know that it is going to be crunching a lot of data. Maybe say getting some models done using Python or R, and you need data analytics, the machine learning algorithms, at least basic algorithms. It might be just implementing when you come into the work environment, but you need to be perfect with those. But my job here is basically as an analyst in business process management. So process management is something which is related to process efficiency. Uh, if any one of you has done a KPMG course, Six Sigma course, you will understand that it was basically to cut costs, make your process more efficient, make things more profitable for the company. So these are the things that we work on. So Sears is a retail company. It is basically right now in a phase of transition. They are moving from offline stores to an online e-commerce sector. So during this transition, and uh, for cost cutting, they have laid off a lot of employees in the US. They've closed a lot of stores, and they're investing their money in India. So right now, our function is in the supply chain, say logistics, vendor management, procurement, inventory management, targeted interaction. As in, you see certain ads on Amazon as soon as you buy a certain product. Why is that happening? Or again, machine learning, artificial intelligence. Yes, but my profile is not totally into data analytics. I am being expected to do some analytics, which is a little bit of statistics. I have to use R, I have to use SQL, but the actual data scientists or data analysts, they shouldn't be confused with my profile. They are more into data analysis and data science than my profile would be. My profile is more towards management. Say, uh, exactly, if you've done Six Sigma course, you'll understand to make processes more efficient. How can we cut costs and make profitable business for the company in everything? Say, employees stay when he goes somewhere, or the travel that you're using, the logistics part when you deliver goods, how much time you're spending to deliver to the customer. So all these things you need to make them more efficient. So this is my profile right now in Sears, basically an analyst in the business process management.
Wow, sounds great. Uh, while while you were serving as a general secretary of CCD, you might have seen many of your friends placed. And how was your feeling when you got placed?
So I got placed on day two. See, to be frank, my CPI was not very high. What very high? It was low. So I was a six pointer. I've spoiled my academics in the first 2 years. Didn't know where to go, as in I missed my uh, path, and then slowly got back on track after a lot of introspection. So it was expected that I would not, maybe I wouldn't get placed in the first day itself. But again, it was terrible, yeah, seeing other people get placed and you standing there as the general secretary of the placements and people coming to you and asking, "Did you get placed yet?" It was terrible, demotivating, but expected. So I was prepared for it. I knew that staying composed was the only key. If I had to cry or if I had to be sad, that used to be in a room away from all the process that was going on. But yeah, once you get placed, as in once I got placed, it was unbelievable and ecstatic. I was satisfied that I got placed with a decent package. And but again, I couldn't believe. So Nilesh, one of my friends who was working with me in the placement cell, he was the assistant general secretary, was taking care of the company, and I was asking him repeatedly, "Come get the paper on which my name is written, saying that I got selected. Only then I will believe, else I'm not going to." So there are a lot of things going on during placements, as in you might get wrong information that you got placed, not from the placement cell, but some person might randomly come and say that you got placed, and again you suddenly know that okay, there's another round of interview. So all these things take place, and I wasn't really ready to believe. So I wanted him to show me the paper, at least a snapshot of the paper, and that is when I believed and made calls home. So it was really, it's going to be a really good experience, a really good feeling when once you get placed.
Wow. Can you specify the procedure for acquiring a job of your profile while going out of the campus, like off campus?
Okay. See, same profile might be difficult. Always, when someone is trying to guide you, do not try to blindly apply for the same profile. So, an analyst in Sears might be different from an analyst in Snapdeal or say Flipkart. So, you need to go through the job profile very clearly, expect from you. But such analyst profiles, which are more towards managing the business process and making the process more efficient, these kind of profiles, I would say, off campus would be via networking and referrals. As in, if someone can refer you into the company, that would be a big plus. Else, it would be through networking. When you meet people in certain occasions, and then you build your network that way. Apart from that, there are people who have been like I work with other people who are not from IITs, who are in campus placed, who have applied on Naukri and Monster and all that, but again they face a lot of problems to get into respectable positions in this profile of work. As in the profile that I am hired, to get there they need to do a lot of hard work, they need experience, and that too in related companies. Like the person I'm working with right now, he has 7 years of experience and he has worked with Amazon and Flipkart. So but now we are almost at the same level. So that is the kind of difference you should make note. Campus placements are a big, the best opportunity that you get, but again you can try off campus through networking or referrals for such profiles. You can apply online, but do not expect the same package, or say the same exact designation. It might take some time. You'll need to put in some extra efforts to get to the level that campus people have already gone to.
Oh, okay. And do you think that PORs would be a plus point of the campus recruitments, regardless of their job profile?
See, regardless of the job profile, having a POR is a plus point. It is a plus point. It is not the deciding factor. It is a plus point. It might become a deciding factor in some job profiles. So that is the thing you need to note. Irrespective of job profile, it is only a plus point, not a deciding factor. But in some job profiles where you're required to lead teams, or when you're required to have good communication skills, handle tough situations, there it might become a deciding factor. But then again, the position itself is never a plus point or a factor that gets you into the company. There are many people with positions, as they say, furgy positions. There are many people with furgy positions. So your experiences matter more than the position itself. They'll ask you questions like the kind of situations you faced, how did you tackle them, or what are the new policies or initiatives that you started or introduced as a holding this POR. So these kind of questions you can answer, and you can genuinely answer only if you have done something, you've contributed something through that POR. So having a POR is one thing, and doing some work, being in that POR, and then being able to tell that work, communicate that work, and stressing on the magnitude of that work is a different thing. So if you've really worked uh, by taking up that pur, and if you've really done something different, that would definitely help irrespective of the job profile.
Yes, and many people have their mindset fixed to certain profile, but as you know, when the placements are approaching, they see their neighbors coding and they also get scared and they start coding. Do you think that spending such short time on coding would be a fetching thing?
See, depends on what made them fix their minds. Immature decisions and immature thought processes can take a toll later. So when you're confident about your skills and your interests, then it is okay to get fixed with a certain job profile. But if you're not really sure and you're just disregarding coding only because the popular opinion out there is that coders just sit on their laptop from morning to evening, it's a boring job and it is basically tough to learn coding. So if these are the kind of reviews that you're taking into account, then I would say no, you should try coding. And coding, again, there are different ways, different things in coding. When you code, you don't get hired only as a developer, which is the most prestigious role any software engineer guy can ask for. But yeah, as in someone who enjoys coding would love to go to development. But there are profiles like testing and QA where you're not required to be a pro. But again, are you okay with such kind of a job profile? Are you what are you looking for? All that depend, all that factors into your decision. And it also depends on your family or personal conditions. So I cannot tell people to not do coding at all and just follow whatever they think their interest is, because seriously, you never know, it might be your real interest, it might not be. You'll only know once you work on it. So people who have never coded, and if you're saying that you're not interested in coding, then you know the answer for yourself. As in, you can cheat the whole world, but you can talk to yourself. And if are you able to convince yourself that you have put in some efforts in coding? If not, then you should. But again, before placements, is it worth putting in such short time? Depends on your requirement. Do you need a job? Are you really in need of a job through campus? If yes, then you should consider coding for a bit. Because see, I'll share my experience. I needed a job. I couldn't get out of IIT without a job. That was my prerogative. uh, it might be because of family situations, it might be because of my personal ego that I should have a job when I'm done with my placement season. Whatever it is, think about it. If you think that you should have a job at the end of December, because you will see a lot of people placed with offer letters in their hands, and that is going to be really demotivating. I'm not asking you to do away with your passion or with your interests. Try keep a primary job profile. My primary job profile was an analyst or a data analyst. Backup was a data analyst. But I did apply to some software companies where they did not require me to develop, as in not for developer roles, but say quality analysis or testing. So I have passed those few tests of HSBC or Society General. Their tests were very simple. It was just using if and for, so these basic loops. So I guess this anyone can do, and why give up on such opportunities? You never know, at the end you might regret. So it is better that you do a little bit of coding if you're not sure about your skills. Because there is a lot of competition when it comes to non-technical companies. There are a lot, like the demand and supply never match. There's a lot of demand and the supply is less. So make an informed decision, I would say. See, you should factor in your CPI. Me as a company, if I come for recruiting, if I have two people with the same skills with a difference in their CPI, why shouldn't I prefer a person with a higher CPI? Yes, I am a six pointer and I am seeing this because I know the importance of CPI now. I've realized it in my third year. But imagine you yourself have a company, then you would prefer someone with a higher CPI, because CPI shows sincerity more than your skill in the subject. If you have been sincere, then you will maintain a decent CPI of 7 or say 7.5. So I would suggest, depending on your family situations and your personal situations, you should decide if you should code for a while and keep a backup of software jobs. And then after December, if you want to, or later once you join the company, if you want to start looking for other jobs, other companies. Because you're, if you don't get a job, if you're, let us take this situation, you're targeting only one profile of jobs, say business analysts, and then at the end of December you are not placed in any of those roles, then you're going to again apply off campus. So why don't you do this thing? Have business analyst as your primary target profile, have software development as a backup, and once you get placed say in a software profile, later you can apply off campus for your analyst roles once you join the company, or maybe you'll need some time, some experience in order to become fit for that analyst role. But whatever it is, take some time and then you can go for it. Why not have a backup is always good, is my personal feeling. Again, my suggestion to you guys, it depends on how you take it.
Yes, that one is a good one. And we asked some of the Janta to have their questions put into your desk, and these are some of the questions. Uh,
Okay.
this this question is from a mechanical department student. His query was, my query is related to CPI. I have a very low CPI and I am regretting that I was so careless while choosing the branch. My real interest lies in algorithm and machine learning, and I will pursue my career in this field. I wanted to ask how difficult it would be to continue my journey with the low CPI.
So okay, if I say right now, you have asked this question to me expecting some answer, and if I say that it is not going to make a difference, even with a low CPI your journey is going to be very easy, I'm sure even you wouldn't believe it. So even you know the answer inside, somewhere down inside, even you know the answer that it is going to be a difficult journey, and you should be ready for it. After all, you're saying your interest lies in AI and machine learning, and when you're pursuing your field of interest, then it's okay to take up some difficult path. It will be difficult to prove to uh, prospective employers that you are really interested in this field. I would suggest you to take up some remote projects. There are a lot of startups that have a lot of data analysis that needs to be done, or uh, take up some projects with professors in the campus. I don't know which year the student is. If you're in your fourth year, then uh, the best thing I would suggest is take up some remote projects with companies. There are a lot of startups in Bangalore, Hyderabad, Gurgaon. So just go through a lot of companies which are working in the areas that you've mentioned, and contact them, ask them for a remote project or a remote internship, and this will surely help you on your path going forward. As in, you're getting your first job is the difficulty when you're trying to switch your field, or when you're trying to get your first job. That is the first difficult part. Once you do your first job, as in once you get your first job, it all depends on your performance there. So for you, the journey might be difficult, but if you're interested in the field, then I would suggest take up some projects, add to your CV as well as to your skill set, because having interest in the theoretical subject of machine learning is easy. I was very interested in the course of pattern recognition and machine learning that I took up, but whenever I tried to apply it practically, sometimes I didn't have the patience that some of my friends had when they're testing models. So it depends on you. Take up some projects and get to know if you're really interested in this field, and if you are, that is really going to help you in your future job hunting.
Yes, and should the CVs explain a bit about our projects in 3 to 4 lines, or should it be as short as possible?
Depends on the roles that you're applying. I believe you have two kinds of CVs. One for two options or two CVs. I always made mine as tech and non-tech. So I don't know if you're still following tech and non-tech, or they're just two different kinds of CVs. But what I did was, in one of the CVs that was going for all my analyst roles, or say business analyst roles, where they did not require a lot of technology but needed more PORs or exposure to the outside world. So in those kind of CVs, I kept my projects limited, maybe my best 3 or 4 projects, and with short descriptions as to what the objective of the project was. That is more important. That is what they would be concerned uh, if you're going for a non-tech profile. But if it's a tech profile, then I would ask you to expand it a bit. Write some points about the tools that you've used. Don't write paragraphs, as in what are important, what was the aim or the objective of the project that you did. uh, just a minute, yeah. What was the aim or the objective, and did you complete it? If not, where did you come till, and what are the tools that you used? That's it. This is more than enough. Do not write unnecessary theoretical stuff that they're not interested in. All that you can speak in your interview. So this is what I would say. Depending on the tech or non-tech profiles, tech and non-tech CVs, you'll need to put that down. But make sure that whatever you write in your CV, you know everything about it. If you don't know something, if you're not sure about it, then don't put it on your CV, because uh, certain companies have CV rounds where they just ask you questions on CVs. So maybe you might have given your best in everything that is there on the CV, and there is one project that you're not really sure, but you thought putting it here would add some weight, and then he asks you a question on that specific project, and you're not able to explain. That one negative point might be enough to make it a bad day for you. So I would only, yeah, apart from the tech and non-tech thing, this is another advice, that be clear with whatever you write on your CVs.
Yes, and which type of test companies used to take for the profile of data analyst or data scientist?
Mm. See, I've written tests of Obzuba, and that was my only data analyst profile, I guess, proper data analyst profile, data scientist. In that, they've asked on algorithms, machine learning, certain machine learning algorithms and their practical applications. They gave us an example problem, and it was a pen and paper test. So they gave us an example problem and asked us to come up with a solution in terms of algorithms, what would suit best, and how would you model the data, how would you filter the data, pre-processing, including the pre-processing of the data. So how would you handle the data and all? That was their question, and there will obviously be some mathematics questions, aptitude questions. You cannot avoid these. These are really important. So, but this is from limited experience. I did not apply into all data analyst profiles. As I said, I was more towards business processes, business analyst kind of roles than data analytics. I guess other seniors would be more able and better to guide you in this point of matter.
Yes. Uh, when do we get confirmation whether PSUs are participating in the placement or not?
PSUs are a very controversial topic. They're related to government. They're related to certain court proceedings that are going on, and it sometimes depends on their own decision if they want to visit or not. Once the court might proceed and say that it is clear that it depends on the company. If they want to visit, they can. But even then, certain companies choose to go to some uh, IITs and not to some other IITs. So PSUs in general, like natural gas companies or petroleum companies, they look for mining, they look for petroleum engineering. These kind of courses are not there in IIT Guwahati. So in such cases, do not think that IIT Guwahati is not putting in efforts to call them. The PSUs are ready to come to any IIT that invites them with a proper explanation as to why you want to call them. So when there are specialized departments in certain other IITs, it is fair enough for them to prefer to go there. Apart from that, when do they decide if they come or not? That depends on them. Usually they confirm towards the end of the year, like sometimes in December or January, February. It even goes till April. So it's uh, that bureaucracy is totally different. I don't know, as in it is usually dealt with by the head of the CCD, who is presently Kaustubh Mohanty sir. So students involvement is very like, limited to minimum when it comes to PSUs. We cannot put in much efforts, and whatever we can we do. But because you're talking to people at a very high level in government organizations, it is not even like it is frowned upon. Students talking to them or inviting them is frowned upon in the government setting. So it is taken up by Professor Mohanty or whoever the head of CCD is, and it depends on them. It can be finalized in February, March, January. No certain time that I can give you, or there doesn't exist any certain time.
Okay. How did you do your preparation for data scientist or scientist?
As I said, I appeared for a limited number of profiles for data analyst or data scientist. That was my backup profile because I was interested in machine learning. But then, as I said, I was interested in the theoretical part. When I read about those algorithms or going through them was pretty much fun, but I didn't really implement much. So what I did was I brushed up through all the important algorithms, and I used to have these discussions with my BTP partner. He is a pro in machine learning. So there are two people that I look up to or go to when I have queries in regarding machine learning. I can take their name. Your previous convener of sale, Sai Murlidhar, and one was Pedakota Vikash. So both of them were from Triple E, and I used to sit down with them and sometimes learn a few things that I didn't know. But again, to be frank, I'm not the guy you should go to if you're looking for answers related to data analyst profiles. I'd suggest you to talk to some other seniors. What I would say is Wikipedia pages would not be enough. Many people might say that just go through the Wikipedia page of machine learning and some important algorithms, but that might just get you through your initial rounds. What everyone looks for is practical application of those algorithms, practical application of the concepts that you're discussing in the interview. So if you do not have any practical experience, then that will show in the interview. When there are people who have practical experience and they're sharing their experiences, the difference will clearly be evident.
Wow. What should be the general guidelines followed by the graduating student for their placements?
Okay, so you need to work on your communication skills. A lot of companies complain that students are not up to the mark when it comes to communicating their ideas. Their ideas are brilliant, but they're not able to communicate their ideas. So make sure that whatever you think in your mind or whatever ideas that you have, you're able to put it into words, because that is what matters at the end of the day. How you're putting it into legible words, as in words that people can understand. And apart from that, as I said, every point on your CV, every point, every single point should be clear to you. You should be able to explain your project to a layman. That is, take another student from another, like take a student from another department. Say I was in triple E, so I would, if ideally I should try explaining this project to one of my friends in, say, civil engineering or biotechnology. Take their help, sit down with them, explain what you did in your project. They will have certain questions and they will be very basic. You might be thorough with the algorithms that you implemented, about certain codes that you used, but when it comes down to an interview, it is about some basics that you might miss out on while preparing. Like, you might do the super techie stuff of the project, but you might miss out on that basic uh, elements. Why are you doing this project? Basically, what is your aim? Such kind of questions you forget to answer, forget to introspect. So that is important. Sit down with your friends and discuss. And apart from that, stay calm, stay composed. Take help of your friends. Do not think that by taking help of friends you're becoming a lesser person. Even they know what kind of problems you would be going through, and this is the best time to count on your friends. But at the same time, do not involve in any unfair means when you're taking help. Apart from that, be up to date with all the current affairs, because they're really important for GDs and interviews. If the interviewer starts a topic regarding some current affair and you are able to strike right at point at that moment, and you're able to hold a conversation, what else is required? As in, you come off as a very interesting and knowledgeable person, a wise person. So that is required. And do giving, like, keep giving mock tests. We had pariksha doing mock tests during our time, and I never missed a test of pariksha. It really helps you know where you stand and your speed. You get to monitor everything. So make sure that you do these mock tests for aptitude. And apart from that, yeah, get your suits ready, your suits and your formal dresses.
Oh, wow, that was great. And lastly, can you suggest some measures for sale to get connected to the alumni and the student community?
You're already doing a good job, a pretty good job, as in a young organization such as Sale has reached levels that I personally am satisfied with. But always there is a scope for improvement, and probably you should start working on a social networking community, like a campus Facebook, where it is easy to connect with alums of your choice, of your profile, or people who are pursuing their career in fields that are similar to your interests. So I guess this is already in your plans, but try implementing it. It would be great if something like this comes up. And I guess IIT Guwahati would be the first IIT if such a social networking community comes up. Apart from that, keep highlighting and mentioning alum achievements on social media. See, I am a very fresh graduate. I'm like the facha of the corporate world. So I don't mean myself, but there are people out there who are doing some great stuff, and you are putting up such updates, and keep doing it. probably call them on campus according to their comfort, as in when they're comfortable to come, call them on campus, maybe felicitate them, make them interact with students, or see, we are having an alumni chapter meet tomorrow in Hyderabad. So maybe this might be a far-fetched idea, but think about it. Down the line, you might want to have some on-campus batch-wise alumni meets. Certain IITs, for them it is feasible. Certain IITs, for them it is feasible to have such meets. Um, See, if you can do something like that, it would be great. Start calling batches, like the first batch and the recent batch. These kind of things. Okay, now getting into the implementation is again a different point, but this is just an idea. Maybe you can have some on-campus alumni meets batch-wise, like 2016, say 2005 batch, and it would be great. People would be excited to come and meet their friends with that excuse.
Uh, when I was going through your Facebook profile, I saw many of your pics in the traveling.
Hmm.
We would like you to come to the campus again and again,
Sure,
and
sure. I
we
would.
will be expecting that thing.
Luckily or unluckily, I've missed out on a few trips in the Northeast. As in, when I went to Tawang, I couldn't go to another peak where there is Madri Lake and all due to weather conditions. And once I went to Sikkim, there I couldn't go to the what is that, Nathula Pass. I guess we couldn't reach the actual point. So somehow my trips have been cut short by the weather. I guess it's a sign that I need to come back to Guwahati and complete them. So I will. It would be a pleasure to come back to the campus.
It was very nice talking to you, and Mr. Dinesh Dachiraju, we extend our warm regards for spending your valuable time for sharing your ideology and answering the questions of Campus Jinta for their welfare.
Thank you, thank you. It was really my pleasure, and I would try. I would end it with one note, which is close to me. Even in the yearbook, when they asked you to write a caption, this is what I wrote. In the end, it all makes sense. So maybe it is like that dialogue of Shah Rukh Khan in Om Shanti Om, where sub happy nahi hai, so it is not the end of the film. So that is what it is. Some people uh, find their interests at the end of engineering. Some people need to work a little further. But in the end, again, at the end of your 4 years, when you pass out, when you during your convocation, or when you realize that you're leaving your room for one last time, that is when it all makes sense. That is when you understand that whatever has happened in these 4 years, be it good or bad, it has happened for a reason, and that has definitely contributed for you to become the person that you are today. Else, it would be someone else. It wouldn't be you. As in, you are characterized by the kind of person you are, and maybe you would have just been a different person if not for those experiences. So whatever happened has happened for good. uh, Learn from those experiences and be happy. As I would like to end it, in the end it would all make sense.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your valuable time.
Thank you, thanks a lot. It was my pleasure.